Plat Man is like doing the Bartman and Bat Dance at once. On Amigos, everything Amiga. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron. How's it going?
Well, Aaron, we're talking about Plat Man. How do you think it's going?
It's going good. It's going real good, man.
You know,
Are you
Aaron,
having a good week today or this week?
yeah, I'm having a great week. I can't help but notice my visage on your shirt over there.
Oh, you like this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we had a lot of bad weather, boat over the last week or two, and so Luke's auntie stopped by to pick him up for a haircut. She goes, "Listen, I hadn't seen you for a couple weeks. I wanted to drop off your gift for Christmas."
Ooh,
She always
Christmas
gets me
gift.
nice gifts, and she usually gets me like video game shirts. And so she dropped off this shirt, and I opened it up, and I looked, and there's, in case you're listening on the radio, it's me. It's the picture of me, Boat, and the Brent, like the Amigos, and it even has our logo on it and everything. It's just straight up Amigos. And I said, "Hey, that looks awesome. I appreciate that. Did you get that from our store?" I was like, "Because I don't remember seeing that particular T-shirt on the store." And she goes, "You've got a store?" I said,
That's
"Well,
right.
yeah."
Knockoff. She got it at the flea market.
I said, "Yeah, we've got."
Just like the African American Bart Simpson shirt I used to
Yeah,
have.
yeah, we've got. I was like, "We've got a store," and I said, "Where did you get that?" And she goes, "Oh, someone on Etsy made it." So
Wow.
I don't know what that means, Boat, but I don't know if our stuff's getting bootlegged
Listen,
or she just
you
had
know
it
you've
custom
made
made.
it. When your stuff starts getting bootlegged, that's how you know you made it.
It was very strange,
Have you
but
ever
yeah,
had
I
any
appreciate it.
did you ever pick up any bootleg goods? Like stuff that was just obviously knockoff back in the day?
When Luke was really getting into Pokemon, and don't let our your good buddy hear this because he's a big card aficionado, Magic Man.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to pay top dollar for all these freaking Pokemon cards, right?
Right.
So I saw you could get like 4 billion Pokemon cards for like a penny, one of
Mm-hmm.
those deals. I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
who'll know? Nobody. That's who." But Luke was a little kid. It's like he don't care. He's just gonna like get them all gunky.
Yeah, he'll
So
just destroy them immediately.
I ordered a bunch of these Pokemon cards, and they came in, and they're like the most bootleggiest. Like, think of like if you printed Pokemon cards on like toilet tissue, like a few extra layers. They were so thin, and you know how you feel like when you touch a card, it's
Mm-hmm.
got a glossy feeling.
Oh yeah. Oh
These
yeah.
felt like. I don't know if you could print in cardboard, but that's the way it felt like. It felt like the print was at cardboard. Like they were super garbage. So, and then along those lines, Luke wanted some Pokemon figures.
Mm.
These little plastic
Like
figurines.
amiibos.
No. These are just like little generic playset type little guys for Pokemon. Hey, I'm not made of wad. You know what
Something
I
like
mean?
this guy, right?
Yeah, but smaller than that. And so, well, the ones I got anyway. And so I said, "Well, Luke, I'll make sure to get you a bunch." And I saw some dude on like Amazon, like there was a seller that would give you like 100 for like $10. I'm like, bam, I'm in.
Good
So I
deal.
bought those, and they came in. They were like just slightly larger than a pencil topper, and they were. It was like Pika Shmoo and like Odele. These little things, like they were like mystery guys. And Luke's like, "Who are these?" I'm like, "I don't know. They're Pokemon. They're brand new, So yeah, I've been known to deal with of course, I also was a bootlegger for a large portion of my life. So I made bootlegs and purchased them. I guess that's what I'm saying. What about you?
So, was Luke on to the fake Pokemon cards, or did he accept them?
He had to have known. I mean, here's the funny thing about Luke. He's got boxes and boxes and folders of Pokemon cards, but he's only played Pokemon a few times in real life. Most of the time he plays it on a computer or just doesn't care. He still asks for them too, and he's got tons of unopened boxes of Pokemon cards in there. Like it's just like his default gift So people get them for him, but he never plays with them. So at this point, I don't think he cares.
I think that's not uncommon. You know, I've got a couple nephews, and the older of the two nephews is also obsessed with Pokemon cards, not for any sort of playing the game as much as it is like you said, you know, you look at them, you say, "Hey, I got this one," and then you put it in a folder or you put it in a box, and that's
Have
it.
you ever played it, Pokemon?
I have. I learned how to
It's
play it because I thought he was going to learn. I thought that he was playing the game.
yeah.
It's all right, you
It's
know.
not. I
It's a
mean, as far
game.
as it's just like Magic or anything else. It's
Yeah,
all the same
that's right.
crap.
That's
You know,
right.
I played, and the online thing is pretty solid, pretty tight. You know,
Hmm.
the problem is, you know, just like anything else, like they want real money for like, you know, online cards. Like homie,
No
don't
good.
play that. You know, I
No,
ain't doing that.
no.
You ever
But
bootleg
yeah,
anything? Boat? You
I've
never
bought.
answered.
You know, I've bought. I'm trying to think about stuff that I've bought. That I mean, like I've bought some bootleg Lego in my life. And most of the bootleg stuff that I've got, I bought a bootleg clarinet. That was no good. One of those
Who
80.
made that?
Well, one of the, you know, it's just like when you go on Amazon, it's always like Givor, you know, it's just like
I thought it'd
random
be like
combinations of letters.
con spelled with like 3 N's or
No,
something.
they're not nearly that creative, and they don't care.
Or
They're
like
just like, hey,
CON. That's it. It's the con.
hey, parents, it's an $80 clarinet. Don't buy the $500 one. That's no good. Buy
I mean, how
ours.
bad are they? Are they playable?
Unplayable. Now, I'll tell you a secret, okay?
All
Because
right.
I know we're amongst friends. If you buy yourself one of these Amazon trumpets, you know,
Yeah.
like $100 or $200 trumpet, you
You're
can
in.
get by. You can get by for a couple years. A
Right.
woodwind instrument. This is what you call a precision engineered machine. There's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into a clarinet or a saxophone. You buy one of these things that's $80. It is unplayable.
Really?
Unplayable.
What are
I
they
know.
made of?
Well, they're made of the same crap, but it's just they don't care. You know, it's like none of the keys line up. All the
Yeah.
rods are bent. You know, this is a thing that they bought, they can sell, and of course, all the parents on Amazon were like, "Yeah, my kid's loving it," because they gave it to their kid, and their kid didn't say
Yeah.
anything.
What
And
about when it got like a $50 trombone? Am I in?
well, here's the thing: if you buy a $50 trombone from a pawn shop, you're probably okay.
No, I
Because
mean
at
from
some
like
point, it was a
online.
real instrument. Online,
Yeah.
trombones are a little bit weird because all they are is a bent tube, really. I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest. Who's kidding who? You're probably better off, well, you're definitely better off buying a cheap brass instrument than a cheap woodwind instrument. There's just less to them, but you're going to reach a point where you can't do what you want to do. And then at that point, you're going to have to buy more expensive instruments, which I
What
guess is a point, you know?
What about a stringed instrument? Let's say I want to get a I don't know $35 violin, for example. How am I making out on that?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you thing one about violins or
Okay,
violas or all that crap.
guitar. $100
Guitar?
guitar. I see those things
Yeah,
all the
okay.
time.
The problem with your $100 guitar is that the action is going to be all. I know you. You like some hot action.
You got
Okay.
that right. Yeah.
The action on a $50 guitar is going to be so high that you can't physically press the string down and meet it with the fingerboard. It's going
Can't
to
you
be
just like restring it, you know?
no,
Work
because
that.
what the thing is like with these cheap instruments, you've got the neck that's glued onto the body, and there's no truss rod. You can't adjust the truss rod. And listen, if you can't adjust the truss rod, you're not a real man.
That sounds too complicated. I mean, I bet you can make a guitar pretty cheap. You know
You
what I
could,
mean?
you could, but I'd rather talk about Plat Man.
Yeah, I think you're right. Man, if that doesn't get you fired up for the rave, nothing will. Good God.
That is some Euro dance trash of the highest
That
caliber.
is that is money right there. That's money right there. Boat, had you ever heard of Plat Man? Plat Man
No.
Crothers, if you will.
I'd rather play Plat Man Crothers. Sounds like a
Oh,
pretty good game. I never heard of Plat Man. I had heard of the concept of the game. We'll talk about that later, but I'd never
yeah.
heard of Plat Man.
Listen, everybody loves Pac-Man, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. He's cool. So who wouldn't love Plat Man? Plat Man, let's talk about it. Of course, this is Public Domania Week, Boat,
It is.
as you know. So, Plat Man, released in 1995 by an outfit called Frentic, not frenetic, Frentic
I think
software.
Frentic's still a word. It's like
Is
that
it? What's
band.
it
Remember that
mean?
band? Remember Frente? That
No.
band? That was a
No.
girl, I think. Frente.
I've never heard of that. Are you
Yeah,
making that
she.
up?
No, I think the band was actually their official name. Yeah, they were spelled with an exclamation mark. They were an Australian folk pop and indie pop group which formed in 1989.
Do you think she's involved in this game in any way?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, I'd say you're not. So, and anyway, Frentic. Uh, Frentic was comprised of a guy named John Hardy,
Yeah.
and although his wife apparently is credited with the design of this game, Diane Hardy. So get this, boat. Here's something that you probably didn't know, but you're a pretty astute character. But so I'm looking up this John Hardy, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that like his address to like pay for the game, I believe it was in like, oh no, I read his address somewhere and it was Scotland, but I know he's got a UK address in the game somewhere.
Well, yeah, UK is part of Scotland.
So I'm looking. I know I'm getting my point here, Bode. So I'm looking this guy up. By the way, this guy was responsible for a game called Soko Space Bond.
Okay.
I think that's a good one. You've got his other big game, Boondar, right? And then his big super game, Bomber Jack. They say Bomber Jack's a real cool cat.
This guy, I was gonna say, this guy had a home on the Cocoa. Where was he?
No, So anyway, so again, I'm looking at Moby, and so I'm looking at this guy's credits on Moby, and it's got him credited with a bunch of stuff like Atari stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, what? And it's also says he's the co-founder of the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas. Okay, so I'm like,
Yeah. So
well, that's not true.
I've actually met this guy before.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna. Where'd you meet him at, by the way?
I met him at Joe Santulli's house in Jersey in 2005.
Okay, so that's perfect because here's the thing. I don't think this guy and that guy are the same guy.
He's definitely not because he's
Yeah.
not British.
Yeah, I think. Oh no, I listened to an interview with him, and I was like, this guy sounds like he's from my neck of the woods, up in
Yeah.
Jersey. And
Yeah.
so this guy, clearly this, and I read this in several places that credited this guy because it was like he's credited on the Atari 50th anniversary collection. So I'm like, wow, what a diverse portfolio this guy's got. No, it's not that diverse. So,
Not the guy, yeah.
So this John Hardy is a different guy than the other John Hardy. They spell it the same way. But just an FYI, if you're looking this up and you're like, why didn't Aaron mention this guy was a big player at Atari? Because we're almost 100% sure it's not the same guy.
No.
Again, this was a public domain freeware game. And this came out as a demo disc that never became anything else. it's got one playable level, and it's I don't think it ever came out.
More. Yeah, it promised more to come, but more to come never came.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know people in the Discord were looking for a full version of this, and I don't think it ever came. In fact, I'm pretty sure I read from the horse himself that said it never got made. With that said,
From the who?
From the horse's mouth. You know, the horse. You ever heard that term?
I thought you were talking about the horse, and I was
No.
like, what horse are you talking to?
Oh, listen, only the best. Might all have to be game designers. That's why, I'm lonely. But so I don't think there's ever a full version of this. I think he promised like 5 full levels, as I recall. But you've got one big level here, although it's a good sized level.
Yeah.
This game, when it comes up, I should mention this, boat. I did not just instantly load this game. I doubt you did either. I had to go, in fact, the Discord where Johnny on the spot to try to find a working version of this.
This is available through Mega AGS.
Yeah, well, the WHD load version, I couldn't get the load on the Mister. This wasn't in my build of a tiny launcher. I didn't check AGS. I should have. I didn't think about it. But I did get a ADF version to work. And the game supports an ECS version and an AGA version. Which one did you try? Do you recall?
I played the AGA version. I went right to the top.
Yeah. I've also played the AGA version of it. It also says AGA. It also says fast. So I guess there's some additional goodness to it. So what's the scoop on on this game, Plat Man. Well, you're Plat Man, and you look just like Pac-Man, and you're continuously
Well, I
hounded by
mean,
ghosts.
do you look just like Batman?
Well, you're a little. You've got an eyeball. I guess
Yeah,
that's the one big
you look like
difference.
a freaky demonic Pac-Man.
Do you think he's demonic looking?
Nobody has red eyes that's not demonic.
What- I
That's
mean,
the
I don't
law.
know. Maybe he's like a raccoon.
Raccoons don't have red eyes.
They do at night. Everything does when you see him in the dark. He's using his infravision, 15 feet, just like in D&D. So now, normally when you play Pac-Man, you roll around in a maze, you eat
Yep.
dots. This is Plat Man. This is a platforming game starring everyone's beloved Pac-Man, but this is Plat Man. Plat Man is a game where it's a flip screen game where you take Pac-Man and he suddenly can bounce, jump. You can jump with him, and
Hmm.
you try to get through this crazy maze. There are really, with the exception of the fact that Plat Man and some ghosts are in the game, and I guess a bunch of fruit, there's no similarities between this and any conventional Pac-Man, is there, Bode?
Well, I was thinking about this because
You
I
were?
yeah, because I figured
Okay.
this would come up. I mean, what similarities are there between this and Pac-Man? Okay, you've got maybe not original Pac-Man, but what I consider to be the best Pac-Man game, Super Pac-Man.
Yeah.
There are keys and there are gates. So this really shares a lot with Super Pac-Man. You've got the keys and the gates that you use to unlock the different areas. You've got your ghosts, you've got power pellets, and you've got fruit. So
Okay.
essentially, this game is Super Pac-Man without the super and without the mazes.
Now that I think about it, what's that Pac-Man game? It's in like sort of like in 3D. It's on the remember the Coco has a
Pac-Mania.
that's right, and you could jump in that.
Yep.
So it's sort of like a platform game that combined Super Pac-Man and Pac-Mania. How's that? We've
Yeah.
really stretched our legs on that. So you got to get that to work. By the way, Super Pac-Man, you correct answer, by the way, but I'm proud of you. That is the best Pac-Man. This, of course, when you start this game up, you come up with a menu that lets you pick a difficulty level, the amount of men you've got. It's got I guess, effectively order instructions and the address, just like the old days, where people just
Mhm.
put their mailing address on games and maybe even their phone number. And then you go in. There's not what I would call it's not option rich, but it's
Yeah,
not
and
bad.
there's no backstory, there's no cutscenes, you're right into the game.
Yeah, and so this game it's an unusual game, Bode, because if you think to yourself, what's a flip screen Pac-Man platform game going to be like? Is it going to be like something like Rainbow Islands? Is it going to be like what is it? Well, it's in a class sort of unto itself. We've played games sort of like this, but not so many on the Amiga, where it's almost like if Pac-Man, all the characters from Pac-Man hooked up with, say, Manic Miner or something. I mean, because it's a maze-like game with different rooms and obstacles, but you can go in and out of rooms from the bottom, from the top, from the left, from the right. You can fall in the rooms, and your only goal in this game is just to keep going. Rooms will have keys, and they'll also have locked areas, and basically you've got to solve that particular room to get the key you need to unlock whatever door you've got in your way to get to the next area where you get the next key. And each of the areas will have a variably different difficulty puzzle that you've sort of got to solve to get out of there. Does that sound about right to you, Bode?
Yeah, I mean, if you were listening on audio right now and you can't see what the screen looks like, what you essentially have is a clone of one of the most infamous games that we've ever played on Amigos, Naughty Ones,
Yeah,
Interactive
it is
Vision's
sort of
own
like
Naughty
Naughty Ones.
Ones.
Yeah.
And where it's if you can think about where you have it's a platforming game, but it's a single screen at a time platforming game, and all of the platforms are sort of stacked girder like where you're negotiating. There's nothing like where you have to make precise jumps to cross chasms. There's no death by falling in Pac-Man. This area in Plat Man, this is essentially where you are essentially trying to avoid the monsters and avoid the turrets while getting from, one part of the room to another.
Well, there is a ton of precise jumping
You
in
think
this. I mean,
so?
Oh God! Oh, my God. Are you kidding? Super precise, like pixel accurate jumping, and lots of it. Depending on how far you got into it. I don't know. Did you beat the level?
No, gosh, no.
Oh, I think I got pretty far. And it's funny. So, of course, I had no way to save my progress. This game can give you 9 lives. Okay,
Hmm.
you can give yourself 9 lives. However, there's a gimmick in this that if you type in on the title screen, if you type in the 3-letter initials of this guy's favorite, like I think it was Swedish heavy metal band, then
Mm.
and hit enter, you could get 99 lives, which I did
Mm.
that, so I could get
I
more
think it's
lives.
Scottish heavy metal band.
Scottish, my bad. I couldn't remember. And I'm sure you did that too. It's quite
Hmm.
simple. You can find on Lemon, they've got the initials. And then, so I had a good look. That's funny. I never ever playing this game with that many lives. I never even came close to run out of lives. Although the game's not easy, but the game has some glitches and a couple particularly nasty ones that will end your game no matter how many guys you've got. And that ultimately would. It's funny. I fell for the same thing probably 5 times in a row because you get into the flow of this game and you sort of lose track of where you are, and then there you are again, back to where you get killed. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. The play field is I mean, I think it's attractive. I like what they did here with the scrolling. With the flip screening both. There's a lot of entrances and exits. I found the individual room puzzles. Some of them are quite simple, but there are some of them that are quite nasty, difficult, and you have to be particularly cunning to get through them. One in particular was one, I'm sure you saw this one. There's an area where there are 2 ghosts guarding the door, and there's a power pellet at the bottom of the screen. And the power pellets in this don't last very long, do they, both? And so you've got to literally jump from platform to platform to get up to where the ghosts are to eat them real quick before time runs out. Otherwise, you've got to leave the room and reset it. Just do it over and over and over. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Um,
And one of the things that there's a couple things. First of all, this is not a bad game
no,
by any
no, not
stretch
at
of the
all.
imagination. This is a solid PD game, and this
Yeah.
could have been a commercially released game. I mean, obviously,
Except for the
this came
lawsuit stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, aside from the IP infringement,
Yeah.
but in terms of the quality, now, of course, we're talking about 1995. Well after the death of Commodore, although in Europe the Amiga scene was still going strong, and this could have been one of those games, one of those hundreds of games that was released after the death of Commodore in Europe, and still managed to get enough people that hadn't quite made the jump over to more contemporary, more capable systems yet. This is what I think stands in the way of this being a really, really, really solid game is, one, the lack of variety. You don't get any sort of different colors between the stages. You don't get all of the collectibles are recycled over and over again. Even though this is only one stage, there are so many levels within this one stage that they could have easily broken it up, divided it by 4, and made 4 different zones, and had each zone have its own particular flavor. I mean, even you see this in Miss Pac-Man. They changed the color of the maze. They changed the kind of fruit that you got. These are just very surface level changes they could have made that would have made traversing these levels more interesting, because you want to see what's coming up next. What world is next? What kind of things am I going to be collecting next? That's one thing. And then the other thing is, you get these power pellets. You're right. The power pellets don't last nearly long enough. I would have liked to see more time, and I would have also liked to have seen the ghost change color, because that's
Yeah.
what ghosts do. If you're going out with the Pac-Man license, you need to really take the time to go all out with it. Give me the blue and white ghosts. Give me the blue and white
Yeah.
flashing ghosts when you get a power pellet.
Yeah. And of course, this game has, I mean, it's a point game, but it does have
Mhm.
oodles and oodles of pickups. It's not as annoying as some games we play, but it's. I will say they use the pickups quite cleverly in some areas, because they literally will lead you by the hand as to where you're supposed to go early on with the pickups.
Yeah.
And the puzzles in this are worth mentioning because they're quite clever. I thought. I mean, I really thought they did a good job with the not that many different variable um, items, like just gun placements and where they would put lava and where they put the ghosts. I mean, you really had to be nimble. And Pac-Man, it's the funny thing about Plat Man is his control it's pretty good, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, very good.
controlling when you play this game. At least for me, there was always this weird feeling of having Pac-Man do this stuff, and it just feels wrong to me. It feels weird. So like, I never was real comfortable, like, because normally when you have a jump, you've got a character that's actually jumping. Like, he looks like he's like with legs or something most of the time, and you've got Pac-Man who you're not used to seeing jump around. He's just a ball. And so you've got no physical cues on the screen to show your jump. He just moves. I know this sounds strange, but it threw me a little bit. It was kind of weird. Of course, that's the gimmick. But I agree with you on the ghost, changing color. And really, there are very few energizers in this, and they're almost always puzzle related. So when you see one, you almost always have to use it to get past stuff. There are tons and tons of areas in this that have blind jumps that you can fall in the spikes easily. The hit detection is pixel perfect. So I mean, if they get
Yeah.
anywhere near you, you're screwed.
Yeah, the hit boxes on these ghosts are somewhat suspect, I
The
would say.
music gets repetitive, real
Mhm.
repetitive.
It's the same track over and over
It's
again.
okay. It's okay music, but
It's okay.
it's not the best. You could turn it off. Um, so this game is not one that you see mentioned a lot anywhere. And the funny thing is, I told Boat, and I wouldn't have even known this if I hadn't done what was it, November? I think it was. I did that piece on Ed. So I did a stream on Edgar Vigdal. Some of you may have seen it. It was I love Edgar's work. It was basically an excuse for me and Luke to play Warblade. But I looked at a lot of Edgar's games, and one of the games I looked at was a game called Dot's Adventure. Okay, Dot's Adventure. I mean, it is Plat Man. It's a complete. Um, it's a DOS version of Plat Man, sort of. So Edgar and his buddy who worked on the game, his buddy's name is Simon Quincy. Him and Edgar, he worked on all Edgar's games with them, like in terms of like helping him streamline them and level design. And so I had an interview with him, and we talked about this because this is a game I never heard of on the PC. And trust me, finding some of these DOS games that Edgar did were real tough to find. I managed to find the full version of this. I mean, you can't. You can look around now. You can find demos of it, but finding the full version is kind of tough. And they don't sell it anymore. So I asked him if it was okay just to give it away. But he mentions in the interview that I did, he says they worked together on Dot Man, and they said they did the whole first level of Dot's Adventure. The whole first level is Plat Man. And he mentioned this in the interview, but I didn't know what Plat Man was. So I just didn't
Right.
think much about it. So if you played Dot's Adventure, the reason this was so familiar to me was it was the whole first level was redone in Dot's Adventure. So in some ways, Dot's Adventure is the natural progression of this game, it brought to its full extent. It's because Dot's Adventure is a full game. You had a chance to play Dot, didn't you, Bo? Did I hear you say you'd got, or at least look at it?
I watched the YouTube playthrough of it. Like you said, it's not an easy game to track down. I really wish, I'm not sure what point Edgar and his buddy stopped doing Amiga games, but I really, really wish he would have released DOS Adventure for the Amiga. Because it takes the concept, the core conceit of Pac-Man in a 2D platforming world, but it does all the things that I wanted him to do. He goes through all these different areas, different
Yeah.
zones. It makes the game interesting because there's this constant variety that this game lacks. So, do you know? Do you know do you remember what year Dot's Adventure was released?
Let me look here. I think I might have it listed on here. So, let's see. It looks like somewhere 2013-ish is what I've got written
Okay.
down. So in that
So
ballpark.
much later on. So
Yeah.
obviously, this was maybe Edgar just kind of moved on since then.
Well,
But this would have been a fantastic addition and a sort of a fantastic denouement for the Plat Man genre or franchise.
Well, Edgar died in 2015, and he was sick for
Mhm.
the last couple years of his life. So, I think his game making days were in 2013 were kind of rolling to a grinding to a halt.
Yeah.
But I will say you got to think Edgar worked on Deluxe Pac-Man. He did another game called Pac-Man that was on the Mac and Dot Bot. So there are several of these. I think there's another Dots Adventure that it might just be called Pac Dots. Dots. The naming is real weird on these. But if you're interested in playing, and I will say, having played Dots Adventure, it's way better than this. Like it
Mhm.
controls better. Everything. Also, it's obviously more modern. It plays on your modern Windows. And it's really good. I told you one thing it's got simultaneous 2-player support, which is a lot of
Mm.
fun. Me and the
Yeah.
boy played it, so I mean that's a real winner there if you could track it down. If anybody's interested in Discord, or want to play, drop me a note. I can maybe point you in the right direction. But anyway, getting back to Plat Man, I was pleased. I like this boat. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's limited. It's quirky. I should mention the glitch that got me killed. There's an area where there's a level where you jump down. Where you'll jump down to the next level. And
Mhm.
I went and got a key and jumped up. And when I jumped up, there happened to be spikes positioned right beside where you jump down. And when I did that, my Plat Man would land on the spikes and die, and then just reappear and die over and over. And I ground through like 85 men
Oh,
right
wow.
there. But it happened to me at least twice, maybe 3 times. So I read about other people having similar issues in certain levels. So there are absolutely places where you can get stuck or perma killed. And so again, this
Mm.
was a demo. I'm not going to hold their feet to the fire. But it's
Mhm.
something you're going to want to think about if you want to take this thing out for a run. You might want to be paying attention to where the spikes are, or maybe it's possible you could be boned. I've seen people complete the game, so I know it's completable, but it wasn't completable by me. But did we get any Discord action, Boater?
We sure did. We got a few reviews this week. Our
Really?
first one comes from Pajako6502. He says, I made noises while I was playing this. I won't lie. But I really enjoyed this despite my unfortunate ending. A couple of things took the sheen off a little. Power pellets don't turn ghost blue, so it's not obvious you can eat them until you tentatively try.
Yep.
Lives are short, so it's risky to try something new that might have killed you. Also, no extra life for 10,000 points? You find extra lives in the game. I just feel for score would have been more on theme and give you a reason to collect items. The controls are very tight. However, there's an annoying repeating jump when you hold the jump for too long that caused a few
Yes.
early deaths for me. I
Yeah.
forgot to mention that too.
I
That's
hated
probably
that.
the worst thing about this game.
Yeah.
I hate
That's
that. And that's an
yeah.
easy fix too.
And the thing is, when that happens, it makes you think the game's cheap. I
Right.
mean cheap
Yeah.
like as in like
Yeah,
not well
cheap like
done.
they did
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Pajaka goes on to say, "I used the 99 lives cheat having played a few games already and wanting to see the rest of the game. Sadly, I reached about 5 screens from the end and hit an infinite death loop. I suppose I deserve it for
Ah.
being a big cheating son of a biscuit though. The AGA and ECS versions play the same, but AGA looks nicer. NB, Platman's eyes look red on AGA as if he's been popping too many pills. A genuinely good old classic teeth clenching chair swear jar filling platformer. 8 out of 10. Yes, would have been 9 out of 10 if it had blue ghosts and no infinite death loop. Bumface Pooh Hands writes, the name and the character sprite might have you thinking this is going to play like Pac-Man somehow, but really, apart from the ghosts and the very occasional chance to eat them, the rest of the game plays like a straight-up platformer. By straight up platformer, I mean the type that started with games like Manic Miner and Jet Set Willy on Spectrum and probably should have stayed there.
Oh.
The game actually doesn't play too bad. The controls are better than those of the Specky days. The graphics are nice enough, and we even get an AGA option. But really, there's not much else to do than collect things for no real reason apart from keys that open up other areas of the level. Speaking of levels, this game is just one big level as it seems the game was never completed. They should have split the first level into a few levels, really, as a start. I know there is a more complete version of this on the C64, but I'm just judging the Amiga version, and based on that, I'm not sure if there would have been enough variety in gameplay to justify any more of a game. On the bright side, with with the 99 lives cheat, I did manage to complete this, which is more than can be said than any other platformer I've played on the Amiga. Sheila Dixon writes, Plat Man was written in a surprisingly short time. By the way, Aaron, I did do some research on this. I got a fantastic book from Pixels at Dawn
Yeah.
a few years back about public domain games on the Amiga,
Yeah.
and there was a short write up on Plat Man. Plat Man was
Oh.
completed in only 4 weeks. Four
Wow.
weeks. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So Sheila goes on. She says, and given away with the promise of a full game, which unfortunately was never released, leaving us with a single level. With that in mind, there's plenty to go at, controls very well, and doesn't look bad for PD. In fact, I like the quirkiness and homebrew feel probably more than I would a more polished and tidied up version. Once you've worked your way through the many screens, there's some replayability as you can try and improve your score by collecting the harder to reach goodies. I'd like to have seen it look and sound a little bit more like the original Pac-Man. Power pills are scarce, but they are placed strategically so that you can learn to use them to your advantage in tight spots. I had to play along this week since Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man are firm favorites. Someone who hates platformers, the tight jumps were initially frustrating, but that gave way to determination and then addiction as I got further in and earned more points with just one more try. Sheila's top tip, assuming you're not using the 99 lives cheat, there's a hidden room with several more lives which are added even after you max out your lives on the option screen and start with 9. He who hesitates is lost. 8.5 out of 10. Waka waka.
Very
And
good.
finally, Graham W. Vebke, the living legend, writes, I am a Ms. Pac-Man fanatic. I did not like the earlier Pac-Man themed games that went off formula like Pac-Land and even Pac-Mania. Plat Man has some mechanics that are fine for a platform game, but an overall mess that makes no sense. When you use Pac-Man attributes, you expect Pac-Man things in the game. It misses the mark in so many ways, and I could only feel it used Pac-Man to draw attention to it, yet it was never finished because of the Pac-Man association. If it was its own individual protagonist, it still would have been a bit of a miss for me. Seen enough after not much variety and bugs in game, can I play Top Banana now? 3 out of
Oh.
10.
Wow.
Man.
You
Mega
know,
Burial
yeah,
from
no
Graham
kidding.
Bebke.
I want to mention number one that this gets a 7.06 over at Lemon, our good friends
Mm-hmm.
at Lemon. And some people mentioned the C64 game. It's called Plat Man Worlds. And
Mm-hmm.
someone ported over 2017. It's got 4 worlds on it. And I believe there's another Plat Man that's just a straight up Plat Man port to the C64, I think. I read this game got, it's another game that got confused upon itself when several, like your Mobies and stuff, people would get confused as to what went where. You know, when you get to these PD stuff, there's just a little bit less attention paid to the particulars, the details. But there is a C64 version now, and it looks pretty good. That Platman Worlds. But if you want to give this a shot, I really would. I urge you to look up Dot's Adventures. And if you didn't like this, I think you would like Dot's better. Aside from the fact that it plays better and it's more refined, it's got a lot of the stuff that Edgar used to put in games, like secret areas. I mean, real funky ones too. There's all kinds of secret, like bonus stuff that you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
isn't in this game. Of course, I can tell you it took him more than 4 weeks. 4 weeks is impressive.
It
I
is
will
very
say,
impressive.
because I mean the levels in this, if you take anything away, the levels in this are cunningly devised. I mean, they're not throwaway levels. And having played Crap Man a couple months ago, where the level design was like take a D20 random table, I appreciate someone taking the time and trying to be clever with what they had on hand to make clever levels. So I think this is a fun one, Bo. Would you agree?
This is a fun one. It's worth your time just to see what can be done in 4 weeks on the Amiga. If you ask any Amiga repair technician what the most problematic component of a motherboard is, they'll undoubtedly mention capacitors. The electrolytic capacitors that shipped with the Amiga are 30 years old or older at this point, and each one is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode battery acid all over your motherboard, sometimes damaging it irrevocably. Don't wait. Replace your capacitors now. Full capacitor kits for every Amiga model are available now at RetroRewind.ca. Don't want to attempt the repair yourself?
Use their white glove recap service and leave the intricate removal and soldering process to the professionals using industry standard equipment. Use the promo code Amigos10 at checkout and save 10% off your cap kit or service. Remember, make RetroRewind.ca your first stop for all your Commodore computer needs.
Amiga News.
You know, Aaron,
Yes, sir.
it has been another amazing week of news here in the Amiga community. We're starting out with a story that I didn't see really reported anywhere, but I came upon it in my internet travels. I don't know if you're aware of the guy Keith Haring. This is a guy, if you're into the sort of art world of the 80s at all, you saw this guy. He's the guy that he did a lot of, there are these dancing men, sort of outlines of dancing men in various poses.
He did
Uh,
MTV stuff, didn't he, Bode?
maybe.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure I've seen this kind of art on there back in the
Yeah, and
day.
this is a guy that I think he was one of the early victims of the AIDS virus in the 80s, sort of a tragic death, but it's come to light that he created some of his most iconic images on an Amiga. So looks like it says that uh, that the Pixel Pioneer is one of his latest exhibits at Christie's auction house, or I guess his estates, and you can see some of the prints that he has made on an Amiga computer. So pretty cool connection. One of the biggest artists of the '80s and the Amiga computer.
Very good, Bode. I'd not heard of this. I know I've seen this guy's art before. I swear that they were bumpered on MTV back in the day, but that could just be something similar. But that's pretty interesting, and I have definitely heard of the fellow. So that's
Yeah,
nice. That's neat
and
that they dug that up.
if you're wondering how they're going to sell these digital images, they're actually going to sell them as NFTs. So
Oh, well, when you said when you started talking about selling them, I'm like, please don't say NFTs, and there it is. So, well,
yeah,
you
yeah, there
can't
you
keep
go.
it from being stupid.
That's right. Next up, Aaron, this is going to tickle your fancy.
Oh
Guess
yeah,
what,
man.
Aaron?
Yeah.
You know, we've had the imitators, we've had the duplicators, we've had all those trashy transcodes. It's time for real Kong, Aaron. Real Donkey Kong on a real computer. JOTD is getting it done. This is an arcade perfect port of Pac-Man for the Amiga.
I'll be the judge of that, Bode. But it looks great. By the way, transcodes aren't trashy. They're the only. That's the pure usage of the code. With all that
Well,
said, someone doing a pixel perfect port, that's a tall order. This looks great. You know, I'm probably the king dong of Donkey Kong. I love it. Outside of the of your Chins and your Billy Mitchells, those guys, I'm not in the top 10, but I gotta be in the top 1,000 boat when it comes to Donkey Kong.
I'd say
And
you're probably in the top 100.
well, I don't know about that. You know, not with the BB, Steve BB, all those guys, or his name was.
Isn't
But
he a UFC guy, BB?
no. So what was Steve? What was the guy's name of King of Kong?
Steve Weeby.
Weeby. That
Weeby.
was close. But I'm anxious for this to come out. In fact, is this out, Bo? Does it say if this is out yet? Because if it's out, I'm on top of that sucker. I see there's a.
I
see
don't
here.
believe that it has been released. I think that this is still work in progress footage from JOTD.
Oh man, I can't wait. That guy's
Yeah.
a stud. He does good stuff, and so I have no doubt it will be good. But will it be super good? We will find out. So it says
That's
Graham
right.
says Weeby didn't use MAME, did he? I thought that was I
That
thought
was
that
Billy
was
Mitchell.
Billy. And by the way, we didn't cover while we're talking about Donkey Kong. The lawsuit with Billy Mitchell was basically settled with the
Yeah.
guys over there. You've already read that, and
Twin Galaxies. Yeah.
yeah, it's deceptive in a way. Billy Mitchell's scores weren't reinstated on the modern charts, but they were reinstated in the archival charts, I believe it was. I think this is a
Right.
face-saving situation. You know, it breaks
It
my
was
heart
part
to
of the
see.
terms of the settlement, I'm sure.
It breaks my heart to see that Billy Mitchell is everybody hates him. I will say though, if you've ever seen King of Kong, he comes across like the #1 wrestling heel, like manager of all the times. So in terms of being a greasy snake oil type guy, he foots the bill like 110%. I mean, he looks like that kind of guy. It's a shame that he is that kind of guy because he's super talented. But still, you know, if you look
Well,
at him,
here's the thing. I think Billy Mitchell's star is only going to increase. I guarantee you he can still rake it in, making personal appearances, etc. So,
yeah,
Billy
I think
Mitchell,
you're
video
probably
game
right.
player of the century, he's still doing okay. I am eager to see. However, I know one person he's not going to settle with, who's not interested in selling, and that's Carl Jobst,
Yeah, you don't want to piss that guy
uh,
off.
he's sued for defamation. So
Yeah.
that case will go to court, and I
Yeah,
can't wait to see it.
that guy's not to be trifled with. Both that
No.
guy's. But I will say, in closing about Mitchell, that scene where he's fixing his hair in King of Kong and they're playing The Stroke, it's one of the all-time favorite
Here's the
scenes. He's
thing.
putting his
That
tie on.
movie that movie is amazing.
It
That is
is
the best
great.
movie that's ever been made
It's
about video games.
great. Whether it's how fictional it is obvious. But
Doesn't
man,
matter.
the
Doesn't
way, and
matter.
every time Billy Mitchell rolls into the scene, you can almost hear like dun 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 playing in the background. It's so good, Boat.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Coming up next, we got more arcade action news coming
Oh,
up. Of course, all this news comes from Indie Retro News, our buddy Neil. There is a port of Trojan coming to you for the Amiga. Aaron, this looks great. Now, I was never a huge Trojan guy. Most of my Trojaning was done on the NES, and it was
yeah.
not what you call a super impressive game. Were you a big fan of Trojan in the arcades?
I was not. My brother likes these short sword and shield games. I don't know if Brent's still in
Mhm.
here, but you know, it's funny. I saw this game around, and I'm sure I've played it a few times, but like, it's not one I like played extensively, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Which probably means it's really hard. You know,
Yeah.
sort of like your Rygars. Some of these games are just off my skill, my ability to play. The skill level wasn't there, Bode. Yeah, Brent says he's a huge fan. Oh, there you go, the Brent. You're gonna be a
And
happy boy. This looks good. The
the
Scorpion Engine for the win, brother.
Yeah, the creator of this game, who on the English Amiga board, I believe, goes by the name. Actually, I have no idea because the source doesn't take you to the post that I was thinking it would. Maybe Sky Zoo 73, maybe, but he's not a programmer. He says, "I'm not a programmer or graphic designer." He says that he just has a lot of passion, and he's just trying to do his best to convert Trojan over to the Amiga. So I fully support any efforts to bring all of these old arcade games to the Amiga. The Amiga is an excellent platform for all these type of games, as we've seen time and time again. So I look forward to watching the progress of Trojan as it rolls
Yeah,
along.
that'll be great. And that's you know, Trojan and Rygar. These weren't huge. I know people might think these were like big titles back then. They're sort of. I mean, people know what they are, but they're not huge titles. So people are getting introduced to some of these older games that like they may have missed or may not have been born for, and you're gonna find some winners in there. And Trojan might be one of them.
Yeah, yeah. And finally, Aaron, we have a new game from the creator of Creeping Me Out Hex Knight,
Oh
which is, I
my.
believe, still under development. That Adams Family looking game,
Yeah, it's
Mixel. He is, even though we haven't seen a new version or a completed version of Creeping Me Out Hex Knight, he's hard at work. A new title, a multiplayer title, Aaron. This is called Wizonk. Two wizards battling it out against each other. This
oh.
kind of reminds me a little bit of what was that game that you and Brent played? That was it was a homebrew NES game. That was a multiplayer type game with lots of like real tiny sprites. Your character was a real tiny sprite. You remember the name of that game?
Boy, you're. Are you kidding? I don't remember what I had for lunch. Maybe Brent's he's in
Well,
here. Maybe he can remember.
this reminds me of that game a little bit, but it looks cool. You know, I'm all about any sort of a 4-player deathmatch type game on the Amiga. this would definitely something we could pull out at Boat Fest if it's finished by then. Some 4-player action, so we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, this is another Scorpion Engine game. I tell you, if anybody's the patron saint of the Amiga right now, is freaking Earrock and his Scorpion Engine, the only development platform worth a darn on the whole machine. This is another fantastic looking game, and Wizdonk. Check it out on Indie Retro News.
It's funny, that opening screen, I'm looking at the screen in bewilderment, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, what is this? But I guess right here is where you're setting your stats. You're building what level you're going to play on, what character you're playing,
Right. Right.
But is this a 4-player game, Boat? I think it is.
Yeah, it's a 4-player game. You can either use a parallel port multi-tap or 2 players on joystick or 2 on keyboard.
Now see, this looks interesting. It's sort of like if Warlords and like Rainbow Island had a kid. You're bouncing around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You might have something here. This is one of those games that don't judge it. Oh, look at this. Here's a whole different level. This looks really more like Rainbow Island here,
Mm-hmm.
or Bubble Bobble or something. They might have something here, Boat. We got to keep our eye out for Wizzonk. That might be a good one.
That's
Who's
right.
doing this? Who'd you say was?
This is Mixel, the man
yes.
behind Creeping Me Out Hex Night.
When you mentioned that, I should have known. This guy's got the skills, Boat, to pay the bills. Very good,
That's right.
Boat.
And that's going to do it for this week's Amiga News.
Very good, Boat. That's some good looking
Aaron,
stuff.
What are we playing next week on the show?
Oh man, strap in, Boat. It's time for the Indianapolis 500, brother.
We've done a ton. Over the years, we've done a ton of F1 games on various platforms.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're bringing it home for some American racing and do the Indy 500.
If this is the game I think it is, I think I played this mostly on the PC, if it's what I'm thinking. Is Indy 500, is that the Brickyard? Am I getting that right? That's what they call it, right?
You're talking to the wrong person. I don't know.
You're not a big IndyCar fan?
Not at all.
When this came out, IndyCar was a completely different beast than it is today. But if this is what I think it is, this should be quite interesting. This is more like a simulator.
Okay.
It's not arcadey at all.
Okay.
This is what I think it is. But this should be a lot of fun. And this one I've actually have played in the past. So I may have a leg up on this one. But hey, car racing, I'm ready to go. We've done plenty of platforming over the past and that sort of thing. I'm ready to get into some racing. We haven't gotten into that for a while, Boat.
I'm ready. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening as always. If you'd like to support what we do, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. We will see you next week. And until then,
Adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.